Hey everyone, welcome back to Electoral Dysfunction, the show where comedians and experts debate the news of the week from the safety of their quarantine. I'm your host, Tom Brennan. Thank you for joining us and happy July 4th weekend. And welcome to the inaugural Electoral Dysfunction Songs of America Showcase. Every single week on this show, we are graced with the presence of some of the best musicians in the world. They play us out every week, and we decided this week, in honor of the holiday weekend, we're going to play some of our favorite songs, some of our favorite musicians. You're going to have musicians from Texas and New York and California and New York and Virginia and New York. A lot of them are from New York. They're the ones I know. But they're wonderful music. We love seeing them, and we hope you enjoy today's show. But before we get to that, we are going to do a quick check-in on the news of the week. And joining me to do that now, live from Manhattan, my buddy, my pal, my lifelong chum, the man who puts pun in political pundit, the Daily News' own, Robert George. Robert, how are you?
I'm doing all right, Tom. How the heck are you? Happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July.
Day.
Happy Independence Day.
Is Thomas Whitmore still president?
No, Whitmore got voted out of office as soon as they finished off that alien war. The minute the aliens were gone, the Tea Party did a whole thing on how he was wasting spending.
Just like Winston Churchill, you win the war and they kick you out. I tell you.
I would love that so much if the hidden story of Independence Day is the minute the war was over, he was like, all right, we're going to need a such and such $1 billion stimulus to get the country back up and running. And then the Tea Party out of that. And you're like, how dare he? And it's just that. We're taping this, though, on July 3rd. And I want to reference this. Another very important day in American history. On July 3rd, in the Battle of Gettysburg, General Winifred Scott Hancock crushed the Confederate bastards. And every time that history can talk about the Confederates losing, I'm a fan of it. So,
well, it apparently, look, Donald Trump, so tired of winning that he's now supporting the biggest losers in American history. So
that's funny. I didn't think about it that way. That's what he meant by, you're going to be so tired of winning that I'm going to embrace the losers.
There you go. And this is the thing too, of course, and he's not just saying it quietly, he's bragging about it, Fort Bragg. He's threatening to veto the defense authorization bill because there's language in there renaming these Confederate military bases. So this is.
Can you imagine? What I love is if he vetoes that, he vetoes the budget of the military, of our military spending budget. So imagine being at any of those army bases. You'd be like, call it whatever the you want. Just, I need my money. Call it Fort Garfield, for God's sakes, which I would love. I want more Garfields and Grovers. We talked about this last week, but I want us to reference those presidents more.
I think I'd go for Fort Heathcliff before Fort Garfield. But
that's my goodness. Well, that's, that's a Republican's opinion.
There you go.
Republicans are for Heathcliff and Democrats are for Garfield.
I'm such a pussy. What could I tell you?
Oh boy. Well, all right, I'll allow it. So before we hop into our musical showcase, we wanted to make sure that we cover some of the news of the week so that we're delivering on the promise of this show, which is we will talk as long as you people can bear it. When I say you people, I mean anyone listening to this show, any of our literally tens of listeners.
Brought to you by Mike's Hard Lemonade.
That's right, or Bronx Brewery. I'll tag both of you in the post.
This is the black cherry version, which is kind of appropriate since the president is celebrating the 4th this weekend and in the Black Hills of South Dakota. So there you go.
All right. This gives you an idea of what this conversation is going to be like. We put it to Robert George earlier today. A lot happened this week, so we're going to try and recap the news quickly with what we call the pundit lightning round. So here's some of the news that happened in the week. Sorry, go ahead.
It's Stump the Punster or Pun the Stumpster, something like this.
We'll come up with a title. Right in with a title suggestion. So on Thursday, new jobs numbers came out. And good news, America, we only have 11% unemployment now, huh? It was 16%. Now it's down to 11%. So we did it. Things are better. We're back on track. Right? Everything's good again. Right, Robert?
it's only we've only lost a net 15 million. So when you take a look at it, when you take stock in America, things are doing really, really well. I mean,
very nice, very nice.
Wall Street loves it.
Wall Street loves it. The people who were getting an extra $600 a week for unemployment, which expires at the end of July, might not love it as much. We got a real disaster on our hands coming.
They're lazy slobs. They're lazy slobs.
Oh no.
If you don't take away that $600 a week, they just won't go back to work. So
yeah, we might. I believe the Republicans in the Senate said they don't want to incentivize people to not go outside and go to work when a virus that has killed more than 100,000 Americans is still ravaging our country.
They want their employment options to go viral, Tom. So
goodness.
So there we go.
Oh boy. Well, a huge win for at least Donald Trump and his friends. Other big win for Donald Trump this week. His son Eric Trump posted on Twitter in the wake of the news that Jeffrey Epstein's partner had been captured by the FBI. I don't know how to pronounce her name. So do you know how to pronounce her name?
It's Ghislaine Maxwell.
Ghislaine Maxwell.
Ghislaine Maxwell. What's a nice word to call? She's kind of. I guess she was Jeffrey Epstein's pimp, basically. Supposedly arranging these, get these young girls with Jeffrey Epstein, and it's an ugly story, Chip. It's an ugly story, Tom. But it's life in the Ghislaine, as it were.
Oh, boy. Well, she was finally arrested by the FBI. Eric Trump took to Twitter to post a photo from Chelsea Clinton's wedding where you can see Ms. Maxwell leaning her head in the background. He got trolled pretty quickly by everyone on Twitter who showed the many photos of Donald, Ivanka, Jeffrey Epstein, and Ms. Maxwell together, all four of them. Robert, go ahead.
Clarification there. Eric Trump, when he tweeted this, he tweeted out the wedding photo, and as you said, you see Ms. Maxwell kind of off
in there.
The crowd. His little caption on the photo was "Birds of a feather."
That's right. Yeah.
And said all these photos of Donald Trump and Melania with Jeffrey Epstein and Maxwell and Trump and Maxwell and You know how back when Tina Fey was on Saturday Night Live and she was doing the Sarah Palin stuff, there was this weird point where you couldn't quite remember whether a Tina Fey punchline was actually something that Sarah Palin had said, or was if it was vice versa. I think it's Mikey Day who plays Eric Trump on SNL right now.
I believe so.
And he plays him like, this real total...
One of those bland white guys.
completely and total blithering idiot. And now, after this stunt, you just can't remember, okay, wait, was that Mikey Day playing Eric Trump, or was that just Eric Trump, playing himself?
Yeah.
I mean...
They should cast him.
It was... I mean, when you've got Eric Trump and you've got Donald Trump Jr., it's like you've got this Dumb and Dumber or Dumb and Eviler, or in this case, the sun also lises. Is that where I want to go with it?
Nicely done. The sun also lies. I like the sun also lises. I like to say they're like a bad cop, soon to be fired cop. The two of them. Other big news this week.
When you throw in Jared Kushner, and Jared Kushner is like the smartest of the three,
which is bad news. Other big news this week: Governor Greg Abbott of Texas. Sorry, Robert, you had one more thing before I.
They all hate Ivanka equally, though. That's
That's a good point. When I think about what life must be like for the Trumps when the cameras aren't on, it is just every scene in American Horror Story where good-looking people in fancy outfits eat each other. It's like, that's all I can imagine. It's just like the minute the doors are closed, like it's like they just try to kill one another. It's not even
Oh my,
shit talking. It's like there's just knives out,
I,
Uh,
I would love to have Ryan Murphy do a special, 6 episode season of American Horror Story that was just like focused on behind the scenes in the Trump White House.
oh my God, I wouldn't. It would terrify me. This week,
Everybody's
Texas.
dead, everybody's dead except for Baron and Tiffany end up
Yeah.
walking out to the throngs applauding them, something like
Yeah,
that.
they become the new presidents for life. State of Texas this week has seen record surges in COVID-19. Their hospitals and ICUs in Houston, certainly, and a few of the other cities are starting to face some of the problems that New York saw early on in this crisis. And Governor Greg Abbott finally, who at one point in time refused to allow cities to have mask mandates, is now, in fact, issuing a mask mandate for counties with large counts of uptick of COVID-19. I have my opinion on Greg Abbott. I always kind of look at him, and I have family in Texas, so I pay attention to Texas politics. He's kind of like the Republican Cuomo, where like everyone seems to hate him, but also like he seems unbeatable. And then on top of it, like it seems like within the party, people don't like him. His own lieutenant governor is constantly trying to undermine him and get him. And yet somehow, like, when the moment comes where he needs to do the right thing, he'll do it. And even the same, it's kind of like with Cuomo, the similar thing where like it took him forever to do the right thing. And now that he's doing it, everyone's like, this hero, finally, there's a hero in Texas. Thoughts on this?
This is quite true. I was ticked off at him, I guess, about a couple of weeks ago when you started to see the case numbers rising, and he refused to lift the ban on localities imposing mask regulations and so forth. But then when one of the mayors went to court, and the judge basically gave the mayor the power to do it, getting around the governor. The governor said, "Well, that was in there. If you guys had been paying attention, you would have realized that was in my executive order all along. You could have just done it that way." But instead, I thought that was a little bit too cute by half. This week, though, he turned around and said, masks. Everybody need masks. I'm instituting a state order because, serious point here, not just cases are going up. There have been 2-3 consecutive days of record hospitalizations, and that's the thing that everybody has forgotten about, because you can quibble over case numbers, and deaths are a lagging indicator. What happens in the middle, it's hospitalizations, is when governments have to act.
Yeah.
Because if the bed numbers get completely overrun, you've got a whole lot of problems. That was where New York got very close to. But
yeah. That was the issue in New York, and that's why like we are not by any means down to zero, like, and we're certainly not out of the woods. We're just no longer in a place where our hospitals are at risk of being overrun by numbers of people.
So we are crediting Greg Abbott with a successful Texas two-step.
Oh, my sister and brother-in-law are gonna love that.
There you go.
Caroline, Doug, that was for you. We'll do one other quick headline, and then we'll take a deep dive into 2 big stories from the week. And that other quick headline, and I'm gonna give this one to you. Setting this up like a layup and an alley-oop. It's Friday, and earlier today, Friday, July 3rd, the Washington Redskins announced they're going to be doing a review on whether or not they should change their name. Not sure why it needs to be a long review, but I don't run a football team. What name would you want to go for, Robert, if you could change their name today?
Well, if I were a brave pundit, I think I might want to go with it's standing right there in front of us, Washington Monuments.
Boom.
I mean, I mean, uh, it,
Uh,
I've wanted a team called the Washington Monuments from back when the basketball team changed their names from the Bullets because the owner didn't like the association with violence, which I thought was kind of weird because people who like three point players are still called sharpshooters. So, but anyway,
right.
uh,
Also,
I
at the time, I believe violence was the chief export of the city of Washington back when they were. So, it's
uh,
interesting is that could be a joke about the terrors of inner city crime, or it could be a joke about the terrors of our federal government and the wars that we throw out. I'm going to leave it to you, the viewer, to decide which side of the political divide I came down on that joke.
shocked. I'm shocked.
Classic. I'm like Cuomo over here.
No, well, I will say this: whatever name they come up with, I have reservations.
Oh boy. Somewhere Oliver Willis just cried. Uh,
Oh, this is
uh,
straight.
he's a big Redskins fan. Well, he's not a big fan of the name, but he's a fan of the team. Anyway, so let's talk about the two big stories of the week we agreed. First off, this week, Joe Biden out of the basement and fighting. I mean, he's been out of the basement quite a bit. He went to more than a few of the protests in Delaware. And a big part of why he's been in his basement is because he was honoring the laws put down by the governor of Delaware to help reduce the spread. But the Trump campaign has been needling him, telling him he needs to get out of that basement and show the world he exists. This week, he did a press conference at I believe it was a high school gym or a college gymnasium near his home in Wilmington. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Wilmington, Delaware. If ever there was a city whose mere existence says, take that, Columbus, Ohio, we're Wilmington, Delaware. It's Wilmington, Delaware. Wilmington, Delaware. It's worth the drive. It was a pretty long one. He went in depth on a lot of questions. He gave a pretty firm and aggressive speech. It was picked up by the networks, which has been a big criticism that Trump gets a lot of coverage, Biden is not. Most of the I believe all the major cable news networks covered the speech and the
Well,
press
I not quite, and I've got to
I can't believe I was wrong.
Well, I know I've got to slap around CNN because I think they may have come in for a moment and then they pulled out. MSNBC, to its credit, had the whole speech. The speech itself was about 25 minutes or so, and then the Q&A was half an hour. His campaign aides tried to get him to wrap it up. He took like another 2 or 3 questions after that, including somebody from Fox who tried to one of the not so subtle attacks on Biden, aside from him supposedly being in the basement, is that he's slowing down. They're making the assumption that he's 78 years old, he's senile and so forth. And to be fair, I mean, I want to be objective here. If you watched him during the debates when they had 10 people on stage, there would be times they would come back to Biden after talking to the other candidates for half an hour, 45 minutes, and he would not just stammer and stutter, which he admits that he does, but he would also try to answer like 5 or 6 different questions at the same time. And if any of us who have older parents, like you do, like I do, you kind of wonder what's going on. I had a theory at that time, and I think I may have even brought it up one of our shows, was that when you talk to senior citizens, they feel that they need to like get every little last point in. In fairness to them, once they start getting up on age, they don't know how many days that they actually have left to answer.
Right, yeah. Every debate could be his last.
So when there were 10 people on the stage, and the question finally got back to him, he would answer the question that was in front of him, but then he would try and catch up with some of the previous questions, and all of these answers would sort of like go into all merge into each other. And somebody like myself who suffered as a young person and as an adult, as a stutterer, that often happens in our heads as well. We've got, oh, I've got so many of these things I need to get out at the same time. And in trying to get them all out, I go, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So I noticed that during the debates, and I told my friends, and if I was making some public appearance, I was saying, watch what happens when the field narrows. See what it looks like when there's just 3 or 4 people, or if it's a one-on-one. And the debate he had with Bernie was like really good.
It was his best debate. Yeah.
He was very, very solid there. And that's not just to dismiss Bernie Sanders, because Bernie Sanders is actually a good debater.
It was a good debate all around, I thought.
Exactly. And that was like the last big political event before everything went crazy.
Yeah.
And so the Trump campaign is kind of playing itself, because 2 things you don't want to do when you're in a campaign race. You don't want to, heighten your expectations. Excuse me. You don't want to diminish your opponent's expectations and overly hype your own.
Yeah.
And the Trump campaign has made both of those mistakes within the space of about 2 weeks. They hyped his Tulsa rally. Oh yeah, we've got a million applications, and they got 6,000 people in a
20,000 seat venue.
20,000 seat venue, and this time, they're running these ads. Joe Biden is slowing down. He doesn't have the strength to be president. Blah blah blah. He comes out of the basement, gives a very solid, aggressive speech on Trump's mishandling of the virus, and then took a number of questions, and he had like the right answer on the monuments and controversial statues issue. He said, there's a difference between those statues that are venerating military officers that took up arms against the United States versus those that are statues of the founding fathers, who were people of their era and who they were slave owners, and they made obvious mistakes, but that was not what they were known for, and we need to make distinctions between what we do. Now, people may disagree with that, but it is in my view, that is the mainstream perspective of most voters, most Americans, and it was a very, very solid performance.
I think also I want to talk about that statue thing just very quickly. A thing he did that was very smart. First of all, he also left open that a private organization like say Princeton, which renamed the school named after Woodrow Wilson, or the Museum of Natural History, which is planning to take down that Roosevelt statue, has the right to do what they want. And I think also, he also said something that I don't think we hear enough from leaders who might not agree 100% with it, which is, he made the point about he thought it was better if the statues were taken down peacefully by governments, but he's like, you can't blame someone for being furious that these statues are up. And I don't think we hear that enough from leaders on the left or the right. Like there's this sort of I think that understanding is a skill of his, or not a skill, it's a thing he has, is this sort of ability to understand other people, even if he disagrees with them, is something that could come in, that could be a difference maker for him in this campaign. And I think I'd agree with him on those points, but he said it in a place that wasn't, these crazy kids are out of control. It was, people are mad and you need to listen to them. And I think that's an important thing for any leader to say.
That's exactly right. And something that I've noticed that he's been doing rather subtly in his appearance, but it's something that he's doing so he does it almost every appearance that it's clearly it's clearly something the campaign has zeroed in on. He focuses on Donald Trump's narcissism. He inevitably will say something about Donald Trump doesn't realize that this is not about him, or Donald Trump is only focused on himself, and and he weaves that element in. I mean, obviously he goes after Trump on policy and corruption and scandals and things like that, but he comes back to the fact that he underscores the point that Trump doesn't care about the country, doesn't care about individual people. The only person that he cares about is himself. And I think it's a powerful political argument to make, because it has the benefit of being incredibly true. And Trump, Trump is the guy who has his name on all of these buildings, and
very ugly buildings at that.
And he's the one who's insulted. Who's insulted if you say boo to him about something. So yeah, I mean it's so. But Biden is doing well, but he's also got a smart campaign around him too.
And I think you mentioned this before, but the last question from that Fox News producer being about his, whether or not he had the mental acuity, and he, had that sort of sharp response of like, I look forward to being compared, to the alternative.
I would love to have my cognitive capabilities compared to the guy that I'm running against.
That was a good answer. So my pundit friend, if you could summarize everything happening with this week for Joe Biden, what would your pun be?
People said that he was stuck in the basement all the time, but Joe was just biding his time.
Bam, nicely done. And that is it for our look back at the news of the week. Robert, thank you for joining us. And now, Ned Thorne, please send us down to North Carolina so we can see our old pals Frankie Johnson and Eric Johnson to kick off the Songs of America showcase. Star wipe us to North Carolina.
Hi, so this is a song by Randy Newman called Mr. President, Have Pity on the Working Man. It was originally written in the 70s about Nixon, but I thought it worked surprisingly well for the current crisis. I toyed around with updating the lyrics, but after many terrible renditions of Mr. President, Have Pity on the COVID Man, I decided that was not a good idea. So I'm sticking with the original lyrics, and I think they actually work surprisingly well. Especially if you think about essential workers.
Hello.
Hey,
Oh,
hello. Hey, bud.
hey, what's up?
Nothing. What's up with you?
At home.
Yeah, I'm not leaving. Staying home.
I'm also not leaving. I'm staying home. Did you want to tell everyone who you are?
Hi, I'm Jeff Mondoro.
I'm Anthony Jackson.
Let me try 5G. When I switch from 1 to 5G,
5G is for like a faster connection, and 2.4G is if you're farther away from your router, but it's going to give you a slower connection.
if it's in my living room, is that?
I think that's still considered close.
Well, then why? Oh, geez, Anthony. I miss so much about going outside. I even miss the subway.
Yeah, it's like there was one thing that I thought I wouldn't miss.
It was the subway.
The one thing that I've learned is that I have to unlearn everything
And then relearn it again.
and then relearn it again.
And just like that feeling of when you're waiting for your train and then other trains keep coming. It's just, there's a word for it.
That feeling that we miss,
Yeah.
the feeling that we miss of the train not coming.
Hungry.
No. Full.
No.
Could have been.
Ironic.
That sounds really close.
It's an F train when all you need is an M. It's an F train when all you need is an M. It's an F train when all you need is an M. An F train when you need an M. It's an F train when all you need is an M. It's an F train when all you need is an M. It's an F train when all you need is an M. An F train when you need an M. You look down the tunnel from whence the trains come, and you see some headlights, and your heart starts to jump. There were 4 F trains in a row. This one's gotta be yours. There's no way it's an F. It's an M train for sure. Has to be an M train, don't you think? It's an F train, another fucking F. It's an F train. I can't believe it's an F, a fucking F train. Maybe that's all there is. The subway is just F trains now. It's an R train when all you need is an M. It's an A train when all you need is an M. It's a Z train. Is that even a train? It's just a train that you don't need.
That was really reminiscent of a time before.
Yeah, me too. I guess I really don't miss that.
Yeah, now that I've gone through that again, I feel like maybe quarantine is better than the subway.
It's funny how singing about something can really take you there.
It was really powerful with song.
Did everyone feel that?
If you felt it, just go ahead and react.
Yeah.
Just and throw up a reaction.
Raise your hand,
Either one.
shake your head. All right, well, Sarah needs the computer.
Bye-bye.
Hello, Electoral Dysfunction. My name is Precious Gorgeous. I'm a rapper, songwriter from Brooklyn, and Tom asked me to do this performance, and I'm not very political. I really am very ignorant about politics. I know very little about it, but I got one song from my new album, Trip, which is out. You can find it on my website, PreciousGorgeousRalph.com, PreciousGorgeousRalph, RALF.com, and this is it. And I think it's a very relevant song right at this moment. So, yeah, I'm just going to get into it. It's called Neighbor. I hope you like it. Here we go. You try to love that neighbor, you say hi and they don't say nothing. So turn on the goddamn radio, don't celebrate what I'm celebrating. Shame when you try to love that neighbor, you say hi and they don't say nothing. So turn on the goddamn radio, don't celebrate what I'm celebrating. Shame when you that shot you missed, and took it as a shot, tried to hop the fence. And yet it took a run and took all the fence. Tried to wave a flag, tried to calm was tense. But the flag will cause the rift. Now we in an argument. It's hard, dog, it's all so complex. Especially when it's over your complexion. Or whether you think that God exists. Or now you a terrorist. And now you ain't a human being. Wouldn't give you that dog to pet. You know what God has said. Yo, other cheek to slap them, Father, forgive them. I mean, they know not why they do that. Hell no. Try to love that neighbor. Say hi and they don't say nothing. Say turn on the goddamn radio. Don't celebrate what I'm celebrating. Shame when you try to love that neighbor. Say hi and they don't say nothing. Say turn on the goddamn radio. Don't celebrate what I'm celebrating. My name Taylor, can we talk? I know when we seen each other last we broke down, boy, you starting to froth. I'm kidding, dog, I mean to call you dog. This is hard. Can we restart? I need to tell you I'm a man for one. Both grown, ego and pride involved. Blood was shed, someone called the cops. We got caught and they let you walk. I don't claim the spotlight in dark, but we both live here and work. Can't we all get along? Give them your other cheek to slap. Give them, Father, forgive them. I mean, they know not why they do that. Forgive them, but you better tell them, neighbor. Say hi and they don't say nothing. So turn on the goddamn radio. Don't celebrate what I'm celebrating. Shame when you try to love that neighbor. You say hi and they don't say nothing. So turn on the goddamn radio. Don't celebrate what I'm celebrating. If MAGA hats is any black and racist whites do vote for Trump, do we hate blacks that vote for Trump? Do we assume they no longer black and kill them first before they kill us? Someone you love get high on Trump. You barbecue, got tea and lamps. If I kneel and you don't, is that weird? We gotta be friends to build a bridge. Shouldn't I block what I don't wanna hear? Do you cape for Kavanaugh or Kaepernick? Who gonna adopt the Cosby kids or immigrants? Who even American? Give them your other cheek to slap. Give the Father, forgive them. I mean, they know not why they do that. I get it, Father, I get it, but how much bullets can we hold in our backs before we break? Try to love that neighbor, say hi and they don't say nothing. Said turn on the goddamn radio. Don't celebrate what I'm celebrating. Shame when you try to love that neighbor. Say hi and they don't say nothing. Said turn on the goddamn radio. Don't celebrate what I'm celebrating. Shame when you try to love that neighbor. Say hi and they don't say nothing. Celebrate what I'm celebrating. Shame when you try to love that. Say hi and they don't say no. Said turn on the goddamn radio. Don't celebrate what I'm celebrating. Shame when. Alright, that's all I got. Thank you for having me on. I'm Precious Gorgeous, PreciousGorgeousRalph.com, RALF. God bless you. Stay safe out there. Peace.
Tom, I'm sitting here in my home office / editing room, having had virtually nothing to do for the last 3-4 months except to collect unemployment checks and grow my beard, which might be an attempt to look more like the soulful troubadour singer-songwriter that I'm about to do for you now. I wrote this song today. It's called Times Like These. Not sure it's very good, but hope you like it. once, I don't remember when. You told me that we should be more than friends. You told me that I'd hold your hand. You asked me if I'd take a stand. I love the way the sun lights your hair. I love the deep dark colors there. From the very first moment to the moment now, we made it work somehow. That we will become when the leaves have fallen and the rivers run. I don't know what stories will be told when we are dead or really old. Tired of seeing everything unfold. What is bought and what is sold. If the world be warm or cold, it will take the place of gold. Still be minds to mold, who will still be left to score. Oh, it's a crazy world, but I got you. I love the things that we're gonna do. I love the people that we will become when the leaves have fallen and the rivers run. All the voters have been polled. Who will cower, who will be bold? When the dice have all been rolled, what cards will we have left to hold? What are we gonna tell our kids someday? How we pissed everything away. When they look at us, what are we gonna say? Just bow your heads now, let us pray. What we will become when the leaves are falling and the rivers run. Well, we love and I love you. Ask myself what we're gonna do. I wonder what we will become when the leaves are falling and the rivers run. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm David Wade. I live in New York City. And I'd like to thank Tom for this opportunity to close out the show. This is a little jam called Blame Your Mother. Thanks.
Hunt us with your pitchforks, burn us to the ground.
But one thing is for certain, your hatred knows no bounds. You're all so vain and prideful, so quick to collect your pearls. But why do old rich white men prey on boys and girls?
Humans are the monsters. Yes, humans are the monsters. Technically, we're monsters.
But humans are the monsters.
If you're looking for proof, why not look around? I've never met a werewolf dressed up like a clown.
Or murdered an unarmed black man, or forgot the oppressed and the poor, or gave out guns like candy so you can kill some more. 'Cause humans are the monsters. Yes, humans are the monsters.
Satisfy your sponsors. Yeah, humans are the monsters. You design social networks to scream into the abyss. The purpose from the working class made them easy to dismiss. And yes, I'm just a werewolf, but I avoid human meat. Okay? Unlike little Donnie, who shoot you in the street. And yet you morons love him and his stupid family. But 100,000 bodies would beg to disagree.
Humans are the monsters. Yes, humans are the monsters. Celebrate imposters, 'cause humans are the monsters.
America, you're bleeding, but one time you were tops. The stain upon your honor is from your filthy cops. Through this whole dilemma, you've messed with Mother Earth.
Better blow yourself up before she gets you first.
Humans are the monsters. Yeah, humans are the monsters. Technically, we're monsters, but humans are the monsters.
Technically, we're monsters. We know about it.
I could have done that way better.
Good morning from Houston, Texas. Esteemed panelists of Electoral Dysfunction, this is Doug Starwipe, and I'd rather die than listen to a white guy play an acoustic guitar. But I was asked by Tom to do a song for you guys, and that's what I'm gonna do. So without further ado, here we go. Hey, Mr. President, while you're busy making graves, we're out on Flatbush and we're trying to save just a couple of lives tonight. And you know that it's live. We don't need no other voice but yours truly, of course. 'Cause it's a party, it's on Sunday, it's a party. stop us. Cops that won't stop us. Cops that can't stop us. They think that they know what makes us grow. They're just chasing a smoke screen, and I bet they'll blow. When the time comes for the truth to come through, they won't know what hit them, they won't know what to do. I said no, they won't. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. We're gonna bring it to you. We're gonna tie up your shoes. We never lose. Oh my God, it's a party. It's on Sunday. It's a party. Have a nice weekend.
Hello to everyone out there in electoral dysfunction land. Keith Alessi here from Meadows of Dan, Virginia, Floyd County, high up on the escarpment of the Blue Ridge Mountains. Social distancing comes natural here. Nearest neighbor is about a quarter mile away. Going to play two small local tunes for you. The first, Shooting Creek, named after a creek. It shoots out of the mountain about 10 miles from here. Second, Floyd Country Store Jam. Stay safe wherever you are.
Hey, Electoral Dysfunction. Thank you to Tom for having me back. First time under quarantine. I have written a song for all of the single, lonely people out there. I'm trying to kill time right now where I rearrange the lyrics on my screen because in order to see everything, this is very frustrating. And 5, 4, 3, here we go. Well, you say you're feeling restless, you can't take this solitude. You jump back onto Tinder to improve your attitude. You say it's just one hookup, that it's for your mental health. You ask me for my blessing and I say, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. It's the simple thing to do. If I can do it, you can do it too. Don't be such a dickhole. Choose to do what's right. Stay home, fuck yourself, and save a life. You don't like what you're hearing. You think it isn't very nice. There's no need to get offended. It's not an insult, it's advice. For an ounce of human contact can cut deeper than a knife. If you go to give some pleasure, it just might take a life. Go fuck yourself. It's the simple thing to do. If I can do it, you can do it too. Don't be such a cum rag. Choose to do what's right. Stay home, fuck yourself, and save a life. Well, I know it can get lonely with just yourself to hold. That pang of melancholy means there's good within your soul. Recalibrate your compass, pump your arrow straight and true. 'Cause if you leave your own apartment, the dick you're jerking off is you. Go fuck yourself. It's the simple thing to do. If I can do it, you can do it too. Don't be such a scrotum. Choose to do what's right. Stay home, fuck yourself, and save a life. In these times unprecedented, we all must do our part. You must bottom your own top and flip the switch within your heart. Be the change you wish to see. Let your inner hero moan. By not getting any ass, the ass you save could be your own. Go fuck yourself. It's the simple thing to do. If I can do it, you can do it too. Don't be such a cockstump. Choose to do what's right. Stay home, fuck yourself, and save a life. Stay home, fuck yourself, and save a life.
Hi, my name is Dion Flynn. I'm a comedian and a black man. I'd like to thank Tom for having me on the show. Through the fish-eyed lens of tear-stained eyes, I can barely define the shape of this moment in time. And far from flying high in clear blue skies, I'm spiraling down to the hole in the ground where I hide. If you negotiate the minefields in the drive and beat the dogs and cheat the cold electronic eye, and if you make it past the shotguns in the hall, dial the combination, open the window, and if I'm in, I'll tell you. There's a kid who had a big hallucination, making love to girls in the magazines. And he wonders if you're sleeping with your newfound fate. Could anybody love here? Or is it just a crazy dream? If I show you my dark side, will you still love me tonight? And if I open my heart to you, show you my weak side, what would you do? Would you sell your story to Rolling Stone? Would you take our friendship away and leave me alone? And smile to my face and then gossip on the phone? Would you send me packing? Or would you take me home? Thought I ought to bear my naked feelings. Thought I ought to tear the curtain down. I've held the blade in trembling hands, prepared to make it, but just then the phone rang. I never had the need to make the final cut. If you're worried in this environment about how somebody's doing, just reach out and find out. You never know what you'll interrupt.
That's it for the Electoral Dysfunction Songs of America Showcase. Thank you so much for being with us today. We hope you enjoyed it. And I want to say thank you to all the artists whose work we saw today. Frankie Johnson and Eric Johnson, New Team Honey Bear, that's Jeff Mandaro and Anthony Jackson, Precious, Gorgeous, Ralph Jean-Pierre, Ned Thorne, David Wade, Warren Talbot and the Concerned Creepers, a.k.a. Phil Casal, my brother-in-law, and the wonderfully talented Doug Ankenman, the great Keith Alessi, the hilarious Megan Sass, and hero to millions, Dion Flynn. Also want to say a quick thank you to Kevin Scott for our show animation, Declan Shelby and Jordy Belair for our show Eagle art, and Joanne Harris for our theme song. Of course, as always, thank you to Ned Thorne for helping me put these together every week, and thank you to my partner in crime and running this show, Mr. Robert George. Now to play us out, the very first musical guest and my old buddy from our days on the improv team, Walter. Ladies and gentlemen, David Frazier. Ned Thorne, star wipe us to D. Frage.
Hello, all of you Tom Brennan fans and Electoral Dysfunction fans. My name is David Frazier. Tom asked me if I would play some music for you all as part of the Easter weekend Electoral Dysfunction show, and I'm very excited to do that. He also told me that he would give me a couple minutes of video and that I could feel free to poke fun at him and or the show. But truthfully, I don't want to do that because Tom Brennan is about as good of a guy as they make him. And he produces one of the most successful and longest running improv shows in the whole country. So, Tom, it's a pleasure to know you, and thanks for having me be a part of the show. And looking forward to seeing you again and working with you again in the near future. This instrument that you're looking at, this is called a marimba. It is the North American version of a traditional 15th century West African instrument. It's kind of like a xylophone's big older brother. If you remember those little baby xylophones that you had growing up, this is what happens if you feed it and water it every single day. You get one of these. I'd like to play for you a piece that was composed originally in the year 1717, written for cello. It was composed by Johann Sebastian Bach, and this is one of his most famous pieces that he ever wrote, and it's called Cello Suite Number 1, and this is the prelude in G major. I hope you like it.